From Ticker News with Aaron Young, this is Ticker Today.
Hello, thanks so much for joining me. In a bid to cool ongoing trade tensions, the Trump administration is now considering slashing tariffs on Chinese goods, possibly by more than half. Coming up today, talks ongoing with President Trump making clear he expects concrete steps from Beijing before making any moves on his own. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance issuing a warning the US could exit peace negotiations with Ukraine if no breakthrough is made with Russia. Bitcoin rallied after President Trump reassured markets he has no plans to remove Jerome Powell as head of the Fed Reserve. We'll be speaking with Carl Rotter from Capital.com about that. And the Tesla boss Elon Musk says fresh Chinese export rules on rare earth magnets are disrupting the development of their Optimus humanoid robot. All the details there. And on the markets, Wall Street closed higher, the Dow jumping 400 points amid renewed optimism about improved US-China trade relations. You're watching Ticker Today, the latest news and business shaping the world. Let's get started. First today, in a potential move to ease trade frictions, the Trump administration now contemplating reducing tariffs on Chinese imports, possibly by over 50%. Discussions now still in progress, with President Trump emphasizing that he requires action from Beijing before any unilateral decisions are made. A senior White House official indicates that tariffs could be adjusted to between 50 and 65%, with a tiered approach for different product categories. China has now expressed a willingness to engage in the trade talks, although it insists that negotiations cannot take place under Trump's threats. President Trump, meanwhile, says China is willing to talk.
Can you clarify, Mr. President, on China?
Yeah, we are going to have a fair deal with China. It's going to be fair.
Are you talking to them actively now?
Actively. Everything's active. Everybody wants to be a part of what we're doing. They know that they can't get away with it any longer, but they're still going to do fine. And we're going to have a country that you can be proud of, not a laughing stock all over the world for many years. You know, in 1913, they traded to the income tax system. We used to be all tariff, and we had no income tax, and we had the wealthiest country we've ever had proportionately. From about 1870 to 1913, it was all tariffs, and we had more money than anybody. They had committees how to spend the money. They had so much money they didn't know how to spend. Then some brilliant person said, let's go income tax. Let's let the people pay. Now, we're going to be able to substantially lower taxes when this is finished.
Meanwhile, President Trump says he has no plans to dismiss Fed Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell, easing investor confidence and fears following earlier tensions. He also indicated that high tariffs on China would be significantly reduced, a move welcomed by the financial markets. Now, following Trump's remarks, US stock futures surged while gold prices retreated from record highs. The change in tone comes after previous criticism aimed at Powell, sparking worries over market stability and the Fed's independence. Experts suggest that attempting to fire Powell could lead to adverse legal and economic consequences, which the president seems intent on now avoiding. Vice President J.D. Vance has threatened to pull the United States out of ongoing peace talks with Ukraine unless a deal is reached with Russia. It follows Secretary of State Marco Rubio's last-minute withdrawal from crucial discussions in London after President Zelensky rejected Donald Trump's controversial ceasefire proposal. Vance stated that both nations must consider territorial compromises to progress.
We've issued a very explicit proposal to both the Russians and the Ukrainians, and it's time for them to either say yes or for the United States to walk away from this process. We've engaged in an extraordinary amount of diplomacy, of on-the-ground work. We've really tried to understand things from the perspective of both the Ukrainians and the Russians. What do Ukrainians care the most about? What do the Russians care the most about? And I think that we've put together a very fair proposal. We're going to see if the Europeans, the Russians, and the Ukrainians are ultimately able to get this thing over the finish line. Again, I feel pretty optimistic about it. I think everybody has been negotiating in good faith, but it's now time, I think, to take, if not the final step, one of the final steps, which is at a broad level, the parties saying, we're going to stop the killing, we're going to freeze the territorial lines at some level close to where they are today, and we're going to actually put in place the kind of long-term diplomatic settlement that hopefully will lead to long-term peace.
Bitcoin has surged following President Trump's assurance that he won't dismiss Fed Reserve Chair Jerome Powell. The cryptocurrency rose nearly 3%, reaching $93,804, while smaller coins like Ether and XRP saw similar gains. The uptick comes as Bitcoin broke the $90,000 mark, distancing itself from traditional stock market trends amid optimism about easing trade tensions between the United States and China. US-listed Bitcoin exchange traded funds attracted nearly $1 billion in investor inflows. However, experts warn that a market correction may be on the horizon, with potential dips expected over coming days. Tesla CEO Elon Musk announced that new Chinese trade restrictions on rare earth magnets are affecting the production of their Optimus humanoid robots. During an earnings call, Musk revealed the company is now negotiating with Beijing for access to the crucial resources. China's restrictions, designed in part of a retaliation against US tariffs, require exporters to secure licenses before exporting key materials. While Musk explained the importance of humanoid robots to Tesla's future, he's acknowledged the uncertainty the controls introduced to their production plans. Analysts suggest that these export limitations could hinder Tesla's comparative edge against Trump and Chinese firms entering the humanoid robot market. Credit card companies are preparing for an economic downturn as they tighten lending and increase savings provisions. Despite Americans now continuing to spend, banks like JP Chase and Citigroup are anticipating potential losses and have reported rising delinquencies, reminiscent of pre-pandemic levels. In a shift towards more stable customers, US Bancorp is now targeting affluent households, while credit becomes harder to obtain for riskier borrowers. American Express and Citigroup now noticing a decline in discretionary spending despite overall consumer confidence remaining strong. The market landscape now changing, with high income earners driving a significant portion of US spending as banks now seek to safeguard their portfolios amid uncertain economic times. And to the markets, the Dow Jones has surged by 400 points following a day of optimism over US-China trade relations. The market experienced significant gains, the Dow initially rising as much as 1,100 points before settling a bit lower. Major tech stocks like Apple and Nvidia saw notable increases, benefiting from the optimistic trade outlook. Investors now feeling relieved as both the administration explores tariff reductions and Trump reassures Powell's position as the Fed remains secure.